Hey YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul, and welcome to another remake video. Today, we're going to be remaking Big Sean's track Bounce Back, so let's get straight to it. First things first, let's set our tempo to 160 beats per minute. Going to give ourselves a 4-bar loop, and we're going to bring in that first sound that's pretty much heard throughout the entire track, and that is an organ. So let's go ahead and bring in Logic's Vintage B3 organ. We'll play around with the sound after. Let's get our pattern into play. Let's go ahead and draw in those chords, or just the one chord. So we get this right here. All right, let's go ahead and open up Logic's Vintage B3. We're going to bring in a preset called Classic Tone Wheel Organ. And here's what we get so far. First things first, we're going to turn off our upper right here and our percussion. Just going to adjust the sound quickly here. Alright, so that'll be our main sound that pretty much heard throughout the entire track. Next, let's go ahead and EQ this. We don't need some of the highs and we don't need some of the lows. So let's go ahead and do just that. We sort of get a narrow pad kind of sound. Next, let's go ahead and duplicate this. We're going to draw in another pattern here. And it's going to be the same sound. It's just going to be a little note that happens at the end of each bar. And it sounds something like this. Let's see where we are here. So that sound is in the background. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in another softer instrument track. We're going to be using the same chords from this organ right over here. Let's bring that down. We're going to bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And we're going to bring in a preset here that I've made in a previous tutorial. It is the Kygo Firestone pad. And we get something like this. That's pretty much the sound right there. What we're going to do here is simply add in another EQ. We're just going to mold this sound a little bit more with an EQ. We're going to cut out some of the bass. And we're going to cut out some of the highs. Once again, it makes that more of a narrow sound if we mold that all together here. So let's create a new software instrument track. And for this, we're actually going to bring in a preset here. We're looking for electric guitar, so let's type in electric. Let's bring in this big electric lead. And for this pattern, it's actually going to be 8 bars in length. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. Let's go ahead and draw in this pattern. We're going to go to a nice low octave because we want it to be our bass, so the bass part. And let's go. All right, so there it is right there. Let's go ahead and just take off some of the effects here. We don't need the channel EQ, the chorus, or the guitar amp. Just go ahead and close that there. We're also going to take off the compressor as well. So we just get that bass. But I'm going to go ahead and pull in the EQ again, and I'm going to just cut off a lot of the highs. As you can see, a lot of my EQing is simply just cutting out frequencies. I don't like to boost a lot. I like to just cut and mold my track that way. So actually, let's use this one over here. So that gives us a nice bass tone to our intro there. Let's mold that in. And next, let's go ahead and bring in that melody that we hear in the intro. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in another softer instrument track. This time we're going to bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And we're just going to work off of the basic default settings that load up. Let's go ahead and just draw in the pattern first, and then we'll worry about the sound after. So I like to usually do. All right, so let's go ahead and draw in this pattern. All right, so that's pretty much repeats itself just like that for the intro. Now let's go ahead and get this sounding a little bit more like the one in the track itself. So we don't need all the oscillators. We're going to turn off oscillator 2 and oscillator number 3. For the first oscillator, we're going to go ahead and select it to be a sine wave. We get something like this. Let's go ahead and turn unison, see if it makes that fatter. All right, that sounds good. Let's go to our attack and just bring that up a little bit. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and bring down our sustain. Maybe bring up some sine level as well. All right, that sounds pretty good just like that. Just gonna go ahead and lower this down in the mix. Let's go ahead and bring in some reverb. We're gonna use a preset that I always like to use. For some reason, I find myself reaching to this one, big plate. And that's pretty much that. Next, let's go ahead and bring in that laugh that we hear in the beginning of the track. Go ahead and just drag in that audio file. I'm going to bring it in here. And we're going to put it on the second bar. Let's go ahead and lower that. Let's go ahead and just add in a quick reverb on top of that. We're going to bring in that favorite preset I like to use, the big plate. All right, that sounds good just like that. Let's not waste any more time on that. Now, I want a little bit more movement to my pad as I'm listening back to it. So let's go ahead and add in a tremolo here. Go modulation, tremolo. bring in a little bit more movement to that sound. Yeah, that sounds better. And for this, I'm going to add in a quick delay for this lead here. I'm just going to put in a quick delay here. Let's go delay, tape delay. We'll just use the default settings. I think that should be okay. We get delayed just a little bit there. All right, so let's go ahead and just do a quick arrangement here. So we got our intro, and then we just take this right here, and that's gonna be for our verses. We're gonna create a new software instrument track, and we're gonna first start off with an 808. So those 808 glides you hear in the track. Let's go ahead and bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer, and of course bring in that 808 preset. So let's leave it like that before we adjust the sound. And let's go ahead and draw in the pattern first. I'm gonna go to a low octave. Alright, so that's pretty much the pattern right there, and that just duplicates itself. So let's go ahead and just make that sound like the one in the track. First, we're going to go ahead and pull up our attack. We don't want it to be so clicky. Let's go ahead and turn up our glide to about 11 o'clock. All right, so that's good. Next, let's go ahead and bring in this little stab sound that I heard in the track. This sound is actually a very quiet sound in the mix, but I've heard it, so I'm going to put it in this one here as well. So actually, instead of creating a new software instrument track, let's go ahead and duplicate this big electric lead from here. And we're going to draw in the pattern first. Let's go and draw in that one note. All right, let's go ahead and bring in all of the other effects. And I'm just going to change the EQ up a little bit here. Let's see how it sounds in the mix. All right, and that's just pretty much in the background. It's very quiet in the mix, and then we're just gonna go ahead and duplicate that. All right, next, let's finally get to those drums. Let's go ahead and create a new software instrument track. We're gonna bring in Logic's EXS24 sampler instrument. And the drums are 4-bar pattern. And I'm going to bring in the Big Sean Bounce Back drum kit that I put together for this tutorial. And let's go ahead and start with the kick. Just go ahead and make this nice and loud. All right, so that's it for the kick. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track and draw in the snare pattern. All right, so there is our snare pattern. Next, let's go ahead and bring in our, let's do the clap. All right, next let's go ahead and bring in the snap. Let's go ahead here. All right, next let's go ahead and bring that open hat. And next, let's go ahead and bring in the main event for these drums, and that's the hi-hats. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track, and let's go ahead and draw in the hi-hat pattern. All right, let's draw up here. Oh, it's a little too high. There it is right there. Let's go ahead and change this to 30-second notes. And we get a little stutter there. Let's change our brush tool to 8 notes. As you can see, the brush tool, you can easily draw in those hits. Switch back to 8 notes. This time we're gonna get something like this, and we'll get another stutter hit over here. hi-hat pattern right there. Next, let's go ahead to our sample delay, and we're just going to make this a little bit wider. It just spreads those hi-hats a little bit. All right, there's our hi-hats. Next, we're going to go ahead and bring in this sustained bass note that builds suspense in the verses. Let's go ahead and duplicate this 4 bars here. So let's go like this, copy that over, because this sustained bass note lasts a full 8 bars. I'm going to create a new software instrument track. And we're going to bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And we're going to bring in a preset or a tutorial I'd done a while ago. It's the Drake Moog bass. And we're going to use that in this session. Let's go ahead and draw in another region. It's going to be a full 8 bars. And it's simply going to be a sustained note. Let's go to a nice low octave. And it's going to build up some suspense in this record. Let's go ahead and adjust this sound. Bring this a little bit up, the attack. All right, so those are our verses. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown in the middle of the verse. It's just another 808 pattern, so let's get straight to that. Let's go ahead and just copy this over for the next part of the verse, the beat part of the verse. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate this 808. And we're going to draw in that pattern over here. It is a 4-bar pattern. And let's go ahead and draw that in. Go down to a nice low octave. All right, so this is a pattern right there. We're just going to open up the ES2 right here, and we're going to add in a little bit of distortion. And let's add in some drive as well. Just going to lower the release time on this. All right, so we got our 808 sounding nice over there. And the way that this one is done, it's simply arrange something like this. All right, so if we quickly go ahead and arrange this track, I think we got it pretty much down, at least some of the arrangement down already. Let's just go ahead and copy this over. And we're gonna go ahead and hit play from the top, sit back, relax, and enjoy, and take a listen to what we've just put together. So that's how you remake Big Sean's track Bounce Back. I know this video went a little long, but there was a lot of elements in this track that I need to point out and show you guys. If you do have any questions on this, you can ask me in the comment section below. For you Logic users out there, I am going to go ahead and save this entire session for you guys. You can find that as a downloadable link in the description box below. For you non-Logic users out there, I am going to go ahead and export all these MIDI stems. I'm also going to include this whole drum kit and any samples that you heard in this track will be as a play pack as a downloadable link in the description box below this video as well. That's it for me, guys. If you did like this video, remember thumbs up and share it. And if you're new to I'm a Music Mogul, hit that subscribe button for more good videos like this one. And I'll talk to you all soon. Later. Peace.